we have talked about the process of information gathering, vulnerability analysis, and little about gaining access by exploiting a target using some vulnerabilities. But what are these vulnerabilities? It might sound complicated to you right now, but trust me, as we go through this section, you will have a clear understanding on vulnerabilities, what are they and how can we exploit them. Let's take an example that developers write programs using codes just like these, which can be written in any language, whether it is Python, Java, C, or any other language. The goal of a developer is to create a software using a programming language. Once the software is completed and has undergone testing and security checks, it gets deployed and the software runs for the developers. This can be any type of software. However, the problem occurs once we deploy the software and it is exposed to the internet. For example, some ports are open like FTP or HTTP or HTTPS. If the website is secure for hosting these web pages, it potentially opens to attacks from the outside. They become vulnerable as some ports are open. Since some software consists code written by developers, the problem arises if the code contains bugs. As you know, every site or every code has a bug, and bug needs to be hunted down, or we can say the bug needs to be exploited. But not all bugs are exploitable. Some are critical and attacker can use these bugs to make sure the software behave in unintended way, like they are not designed to do so. This is called exploitable vulnerabilities, and once exploited, the attackers usually drop a payload or a shell to gain control over the system or the server. When a vulnerability is discovered, it is assigned to a CVE. What CVE stands for is Common Vulnerability Exposures. A vulnerability that exists and hasn't been patched by vendors is called a zero-day. And critical zero-day attacks and critical zero days get patched quickly, but some have been used for months before being discovered, and the infamous WannaCry ransomware attack was one of them. Exploiting a vulnerability known as Eternal Blue. This exploit was originally created and used by NSA but was leaked and used for widespread attacks. Throughout this course, we will examine some recent vulnerabilities, many of which have been already patched, including some discovered few months ago. However, vulnerabilities aren't always technical. Imagine a fully secured company with the best firewall, no exploitable weakness in their server, but now we consider an employee named Alex who loves some concerts, and we send a phishing mail to him with a free concert ticket. And he opens that email and suddenly a payload or a malware executes on his system, and we get the whole lot of access on his system, and from his system we get the access to the server. And this scenario is a classic example of social engineering. It happens more often than some technical exploits. Major hacking is performed using social engineering techniques. Rather than discovering a zero-day, people are always the weakest link in any targeted company. And if attacker can exploit a human error, they don't need to find a technical vulnerability. And in the next video, we will briefly discuss shell and different types of shells we can exploit. After that, we will go through gaining access part on our target machine using our own hands. Let's dive in.